Welcome, dear students. This is the video explanation of the chapter The Bond of Love, written by Kenneth Anderson. And these are some of his pictures. And as you can see, it is one with the sloth bear, one with another animal. So it shows that this author was an animal lover. Okay, so let us see what this story is all about. As we have discussed, it is about Bruno, the sloth bear. He says, I will begin with Bruno, my wife's pet sloth bear. I got him for her by accident. So what is a sloth bear basically? As you see in the picture, this is the sloth bear. Okay, so it has a long mouth and a black furry hair, okay, all over the body. So he got one of the sloth bears for his wife. 2 years ago, we were passing through the sugarcane fields near Mysore. People were driving away the wild pigs, boars, from the fields by shooting at them. Some were shot and some escaped. We thought that everything was over when suddenly a black sloth bear came panting in the hot sun. So the sloth bear came in front of the car. It was panting, making very heavy sounds of breathing. Now I will not shoot a sloth bear wantonly. Wantonly means knowingly. Okay, this meaning is given in your book as well. But unfortunately for the poor beast, one of my companions did not feel that way about it and promptly shot the bear on the spot. Promptly means abruptly, at the very moment. Okay, so the author did not wanted to shoot the bear because they had gone for the wild pig hunting. So one of the companions did not thought so, and he has shot it. Okay, as we watched the fallen animal, we were surprised to see that the black fur of its back moved and left the prostrate body, the body that was lying on the ground. One thing was moving from there. Then we saw it was a baby bear that had been riding on its mother's back when the sudden shot had killed her. So it was a baby bear that was on the back of the mother, and when the mother was killed, the baby was crying. The little creature came round its prostrate parent, making a pitiful noise, because they also have feelings, emotions of love and other things, and this animal was crying. I ran up to it in an attempt a capture. The author wanted to take the sloth bear. It scooted. Scooted means ran away into the sugarcane field. Following it with my companions, I was at last able to grab it by the scruff. Scruff is the back part of its neck while it snapped. Snapped means it was trying to run away and tried to scratch me with its long hooked claws. We have discussed these animals have those paw structures and they try to scratch. We put it in one of the gunny bags we had brought, and when I got back to Bangalore, I duly presented it to my wife. So as a gift, he has given this baby sloth bear to his wife. She was delighted, very happy. She at once put a colored ribbon around its neck, and after discovering the cub was a boy, she christened it Bruno. So she had given the name to this sloth bear as Bruno. Bruno soon took to drinking milk from a bottle. He started drinking milk like a small baby. It was a step further, and within a few days, he started eating and drinking everything else. And everything is the right word, for he ate porridge made from any ingredients. So, porridge, as I told you, is dalia that we eat at home. So, porridge that can be made from vegetables, fruit, nuts, meat, especially pork. Pork is the meat of pigs, curry and rice, regardless of condiments, spices, and chilies, bread, eggs, chocolate, sweets, pudding, ice cream, etc., etc., etc. So, as you can see, that he was a food lover and he could eat anything that was served to him. Okay, as for drink, milk, tea, coffee, lime juice, aerated water, buttermilk, beer, alcoholic liquor, and in fact, anything liquid, it all went down with relish. So, this beer was enjoying the company of humans and he was eating like humans and he was enjoying everything. The bear became very attached to our two Alsatian dogs. So, this is what an Alsatian dog look like. And to all the children of the tenants. Tenants means the people who are living on rent, living in our bungalow. He was left quite free in his younger days and spent his time in playing, running into the kitchen, and going to sleep in our beds. So, Bruno was allowed to sleep with them, live with them, and enjoy. One day, an accident befell him, and as I've told you, this para is very important. I put down some barium carbonate to kill the rats and mice that had got into my library. Bruno entered the library, as he often did, and he ate some of the poison. Now, poison is not meant for human consumption, not for animal consumption. Poison is meant to kill. Paralysis set in to the extent that he could not stand on his feet. So now Bruno could not stand on his own feet, but he dragged himself on his stumps to my wife. He was trying to drag himself on his legs. who called me. I guessed what had happened. Off I rushed in the car to the vet's resident. Vet means a veterinary doctor, a doctor who looks after the animals. It's a short word for the doctor, that is vet. So vet's residence. They went to the house. A case of poisoning, tame beer, barium carbonate. What to do? So this was the request that was made. Out came his medical books and a feverish reference. Feverish here means very quick, with a blink of the eye. To the index began. What poisoning did you say, sir? Barium carbonate. Ah, yes. Barium salts. Oh, barium carbonate symptoms, paralysis, treatment, injection of. Just a minute, sir. I'll bring my syringe and the medicine. So doctor says, wait a minute, sir. I'll bring my syringe, my injection. A dash back to the car. They went quickly to the car. Bruno still floundering, still moving about on his stumps, trying to move, but clearly weakening rapidly. His pulse was going. Some vomiting, heavy breathing, with heaving flanks and gapping mouth. Heaving means moving. Flank means the sides of the body. And gapping mouth, he was not able to breathe, not enough oxygen. So the animal has also become restless. Poison is not meant for animals, okay? And this has happened by mistake. Hold him, everybody. In goes the hypodermic, that is the injection. Bruno squeals. He tries to make a loud noise. 10 cc, that is 10 ml, of the antidote enters his system without a drop being wasted. 10 minutes later, condition unchanged. Nothing happened. Another 10 cc. Cc is cubic centimeter. 10 ml injected. 10 minutes later, breathing less stertorous, that is making less noise. Bruno can move his arms and legs a little, although he cannot stand yet. 30 minutes later, Bruno gets up and has a great feed. After 30 minutes, Bruno is all okay and he starts eating. He looks at us disdainfully, as if showing, as if belittling them, as much as to say, what's barium carbonate to a big black bear like me? Bruno is still eating. So Bruno looks at them with contempt. What can this poison do to me? It can do nothing to me. Another time he found nearly 1 gallon of old engine oil which I had drained from the sump of the stud baker and was keeping as a weapon against the inroads of termite. He promptly drank the lot, but it had no ill effects whatever. So next time, what important incident happened was that Bruno had found 1 gallon, approximately 4.5 liters of engine oil, which the author had taken out from the pit of the car. The name of the car is this stud baker, and he was keeping it to prevent the termites that could grow in the house, because they had a lot of wooden furniture. Inroads means the incoming, the insides. Okay, the termites, they normally happen inside the wood. So he drank the lot, but nothing happened. So he could manage to digest this much of oil. The months rolled on, and Bruno had grown many times the size he was when he came. He had equaled the Alsatians in height, and he had even outgrown them, but was just as sweet, just as mischievous, just as playful, and he was very fond of us all. Above all, he loved my wife, and she loved him too. She had changed his name from Bruno to Baba, a Hindustani word, Hindi word signifying small boy, and he could do a few tricks. At the command Baba wrestle or Baba box, he vigorously tackled anyone who came forward for the rough and tumble. So when you say Baba box, he will start boxing and he will throw the other person. Give him a stick and say Baba hold gun, and he pointed the stick at you, like we teach our children. Ask him Baba where's baby, and he immediately produced and cradled affectionately a stump of wood which he had carefully concealed in his straw bed. So he would bring a small stump of wood and he will cradle it like a baby. Like we carry the baby in our hands, Baba would carry the wooden stump as if it is a baby. But because of the tenant's children, poor Bruno or Baba had to be chained most of the time, because he can go and harm them. He was no more, but he was an animal. Okay, he was no doubt an animal. Then my son and I advised my wife, and friends advised her too, to give Baba to the zoo at Mysore. Okay, they decided to hand him over to the Mysore zoo, and this is one of the pictures from there. Very colorful zoo. This is actually the zoo at Mysore, and a variety of animals are found there. Okay, so the advice was to give him to that place. He was getting too big to be kept at home. After some weeks of such advice, she at last consented. The wife, the mother, she agreed. Hastily, and before she could change her mind, a letter was written to the curator of the zoo. Did he want a tame bear for his collection? He replied, yes. The The zoo sent a cage from Mysore in a lorry. Lorry is a vehicle, a distance of 87 miles, and Baba was packed off. So they had managed to send Baba from Mysore to the Mysore Zoo, and this, as you can see, is a distance of 165 kilometers from Bangalore to Mysore. Okay. Let's proceed further. Okay, so Baba was sent. We all missed him greatly, but in a sense we were relieved because now they knew that nobody is going to harm the children, the dogs, and the other things. My wife was inconsolable. She kept on crying. She wept and fretted. Fretted, as I told you, is in Hindi, if I talk about it, it's junjlana. So it is becoming angry, becoming annoyed, becoming self-obsessed. For the first few days, she refused to eat a thing. Then she wrote a number of letters to the curator. How was Baba? Back came the replies, well, but fretting, he refuses food too. So Baba was not eating. After that, friends visiting Mysore were begged to make a point to going to the zoo and seeing how Baba was getting along. They reported that he was well but looked very thin and sad. All the keepers at the zoo said he was fretting. He was also understanding the human emotion and he was also wanting to go back. For 3 months, I managed to restrain my wife from visiting Mysore. Then she said one day, I must see Baba. Either you take me by car or I'll go by myself by bus or train. So I took her by car. So finally, the author had no option and no choice. He had to take his wife along and he had to go to see Baba. Friends had conjectured, they had predicted that the bear would not recognize her. I had thought so too. But while she was yet some yards away from the cage, Baba saw her and recognized her. He howled with happiness. Baba was very happy and very excited on seeing that the people who had helped him, who had kept him for so long, have come to see him. She ran up to him, petted him, tried to console him through the bars, and he stood on his head in delight. So now it was a wonderful scene of them coming together. For the next 3 hours, she would not leave the cage. She gave him tea, lemonade, cakes, ice cream, and whatnot. Okay, so as you can see in this picture, it is there from the NCRT. Bruno is having a piece of cake and she's kept the cake. She is having some fruit, some drinks. She has brought a thermos, she has brought a water bottle, and then she is feeding her Baba. Then closing time came and we had to leave. My wife cried bitterly. Baba cried bitterly. Even the hardened curator and the keepers felt depressed. As for me, I had reconciled myself to what was going to happen next. So now the author was very smart and rational. He knew what is going to happen next. Oh, please, sir, she asked the curator, may I have my Baba back? She wanted him back. Hesitantly, because he has to think, he answered, Madam, he belongs to the zoo and is government property now. I cannot give any away government property, but if my boss, the superintendent at Bangalore, agrees, certainly you may have him back. So he said, you take the permission of the superintendent and take him. There followed the return journey to Bangalore and a visit to the superintendent's bungalow, a tearful pleading. Baba and I both are fretting for each other. Will you please give him back to me? He was a kind hearted man and consented. Not only that, but he wrote to the curator telling him to send us a cage for transporting the bear to Bangalore. So finally, they are getting him back home. Back we went to Mysore again, armed with superintendent's letter. Baba was driven into a cage hoisted on the top of the car. The cage was tied securely and a slow and careful return journey to Bangalore was accomplished. Careful journey so that the bear may not be harmed. Once home, a squad of coolies, a number of coolies, workers, were engaged for special work in a compound in the garden area. An island was made for Baba. They have made a special arrangement for the bear because now he may grow again in size. And what are you going to do next? It was 20 feet long and 15 feet wide, almost the size of a room, and was surrounded by a dry pit or moat. Moat, as we have discussed, it was a fortification structure where water used to be filled in, 6 feet wide and 7 feet deep, so that nobody can enter there. Okay, and Baba cannot also fall out and come down. Okay, a wooden box that once housed fowls was brought and put on the island for Baba to sleep in at night. A box that was kept for putting the fowls was kept for Baba. Straw was placed inside to keep him warm, and his baby, the gnarled stump, the rugged stump, along with his gun, the piece of bamboo, both of which had been sentimentally preserved since he had been sent away to the zoo, were put back to play with. So all the things that belonged to Baba were put back there. In a few days, the coolies hoisted the cage on the island and Baba was released. He was delighted. Standing on his hind legs, he pointed the gun and cradled his baby, the wooden piece. My wife spent hours sitting on a chair there while he sat on a lap. He was 15 months old and pretty heavy too. So Beer is normally big in size. The way my wife reaches the island and leaves it, it is interesting. I have tied a rope to the overhanging branch of a mango tree with a loop at its end. Putting one foot in the loop, she kicks off with the other to bridge the 6 foot gap that constitutes the width of the surrounding pit. Because there's a 6 feet gap, she is always climbing the rope, and through the rope, she is moving there. Like you have seen moving adventures in movies like Bahubali. So she's also moving with the rope here and there. The return journey is made the same way, but who can say now that a sloth bear has no sense of affection, no memory, and no individual characteristics? So, as you can see, this is one of the pictures of the sloth bear, and then he has so much of affection of love. I hope this video will help you clear your doubts. In case any doubts prevail, please feel free to ask me on WhatsApp. Thank you, children.